Okay, so I think I just had a good realization. I was watching this great episode of the Quantum Businessman's podcast. He's a YouTuber, or, well, he's actually like a CEO of a software company, but he makes YouTube videos often about the Mandela effect, but then also about other sort of one might call it woo woo topics, and he gets like very woo woo, uh, like he gets fairly woo woo in what he talks about personally, and then he talks to people online, like he talks to people on YouTube who are as about as woo woo as you can imagine. And but it's the thing is like this episode, Symphony of Realities podcast, episode 31, with special guest Olivia Ezayana, and the V sound comes from the W in her name. Oh man, it's been entrancing. Takes a little while to sort of get into the medium of it, but one thing I was thinking about was I thought, wow, like um, with like politics and stuff, even though I reject the whole like political system, like it just or like I sort of see through the whole political system in certain ways. I mean, pretty simple ways, not ways that are would take more than maybe a suggestion for others to also see, or they might reject it. But just like into the immorality of it, and then you look into enough stuff where it's just like things are clearly being presented in one way, but then happening in other ways and stuff like that. Anyway, I was thinking, and I imagine many people have thought something like that, what I was thinking there, but I was thinking like this, like, well, with people and like politics or like stuff like that, like if you just think about like what has this person done in their own life, I guess physically, because who knows what's going on energetically, and I think a lot of the time, or with a lot of the people that I've been around, energetically, a lot of crappy stuff's going on. But not to say that it's not going on with me either. But like this girl in the episode talks about sort of energetic fields and like entities, or like where's your energy coming from and stuff. That's really cool. And but here's the thing. I was thinking, well, like think about sort of the political stuff, and like someone may hold abhorrent political views, but if you like look at their life, it's like outwardly at least, or sort of in the physical realm, it doesn't seem like they're doing that much different from what other people are doing. It's just they hold different political views, or seem to maybe sometimes say that they subscribe to certain political views, but then I was also thinking like, wow, like I was thinking, well, I could, if it was like a person, like I could forgive a person for like, and I was thinking like, well, what if a person did this, that, or the other thing? And I was thinking like, well, I could forgive a person for like doing something, but then it's like, but you can get like you can feel very judgmental about what views a person attests to. And I was thinking, well, it's interesting, like, because it is easy enough to forgive a person for like doing something like horrible physically. I mean, it's easy enough to forgive a person, or like just, or maybe something more minor, doesn't have to be extreme, but it's easy enough to forgive them for doing something. But then it seems like it may be harder to forgive them for like um, espousing something. And then you think, well, then I was thinking, well, you know what? When you think about politics, often you're thinking about the abstract, and the abstract is often so horrible for what people like say that they buy into and stuff. And it's like, the abstract is just horrific. But when you're getting mad at somebody, often, I think, like with me anyway, often I'm just like literally getting mad at the abstract. And then if I'm around somebody, like physically around somebody, it's often just sort of the vibes that they're giving off that are either appealing or disappealing to me, not. But yeah, I've had a rough couple of days. Or, yes, last night was rough. Sort of internally rough, like spiritually rough. And I was thinking actually about spiritual health. And I was like, like it'd probably be, and sort of watching this, I was thinking about it. I was like, it'd probably be a good thing to sort of get in touch with your spiritual health. And then I thought, well, like mental health. And I thought, like, I think I was sort of considering how that could be similar to what I was thinking of as spiritual health. And then I was thinking, you know what? No, I think perhaps by design or just by, I don't know, lack of excellence in the thought processes, interestingly enough, I think the people who espouse an idea of mental health and, or rather just the idea being espoused of mental health, as Michael Brown might say in the Presence Process, particularly the revised version, it's because I think I have the Kindle version of the original version. I think that might be, yeah, I think I have the Kindle version of the original version, but I have the, I was going to say like the regular, whatever, the revised version, which I think is the more common version of the book, and that's the version that I've, I think read like in full and gone through the process like, maybe 10 times at this point, who knows, but I don't know about 10 times. More than 5 probably. Maybe closer to 10 than 5 times. But not that I would have gone through it perfectly necessarily, but Michael Brown or even an Eckhart Tolle maybe, or like certainly a bit of a Hale Dwoskin or something, or a Lester Levinson, they might say what I was thinking, which is sort of, the idea of mental health. It's approaching something, even if what they're describing is the way that they're describing it, which, often I don't think it even gets that deep most of the time. It seems like they say, oh, it's a chemical imbalance and stuff. So it seems like, say they stopped at it's a chemical imbalance after, maybe looking at what somebody says and looking for markers that point to like some kind of chemical imbalance, then they're not even really working with the mentality. But I think even if you were to go work with the mentality, that would not be working at more of a causal level, which working with emotion and even as what Michael Brown calls vibrationally might be better. To it. So I was thinking, the term spiritual health seemed very evocative to me, and whereas the term mental health, for a variety of reasons, many of them having to do with its usage as I've heard it, the term mental health seems, very off-putting to me and very, also just sort of very flimsy to me and very superficial, or, not even superficial, like similar to Dr. Sugru talking about Nietzsche and sort of like saying like, yeah, Nietzsche has this line about he like takes down all of religion or theology or something, or it seems to cut through a lot of that kind of stuff potentially with this great line where he says the theologians and spiritualists or whatever think they're so deep, but the truth is they're not even superficial. It's like, these psychiatrists and stuff, they think they're so astute and they think they're so intricate with their understandings and stuff. In actuality, they're not even superficial because they're talking about mental health, and then they're not even approaching the mentality generally as often as they seem to be just saying, okay, here are some pills because based on this classification that I have given you, you have a chemical imbalance in a certain way, and we can't help you by approaching the mentality. So we're not going to approach your mental health. We're going to approach, more, as it's become sort of a cliche to point out, but nevertheless, more this idea of brain chemistry. And by the way, anyone in the world who's ever had some kind of like chemical test in conjunction with or to support or even as a small part, much less a large part of some kind of diagnosis, tell me in the comments, because as Stefan Molyneux has a really good presentation about like psychiatry and stuff, and he's like, he quotes like a Harvard professor or Harvard something who says something like, in all my time I have asked psychiatrists like, how, or he asked some people or somebody related to the idea of like psychiatry or of medication or whatever. He asked somebody like, have you had a chemical test for this diagnosis, or did you give a chemical test for making this diagnosis or something? And the answer is always no. And it's like, so you're talking about chemical imbalances and stuff, and you're not giving chemical tests, so you're not really referring to the chemicals directly in any way, and then you're also not really referring to the mentality directly, so you're just kind of throwing something at a target, but calling the target something else, calling it like mental health. But nevertheless, here's the thing, even with like a psychiatrist or something, like a given psychiatrist, it could be abhorrent or just totally insane what they both subscribe to and then prescribe people chemical weapons, basically, in response to their own subscriptions to. They have multiple subscriptions to psychiatry. There is a magazine called Psychiatry, right? So, well, they may have a subscription to that too. I don't know, but they are, even though they may be subscribing to fallacious ideas, and there's a word that one of the truther girls on YouTube uses a lot, or she has used, or maybe it's someone else. Anyway, so they may be subscribing to seemingly like false or just like not really that authentic or accurate or that accurate views, but of what it seems like they may be subscribing to, it is it's really just more thoughts. And so it's like, well, I could forgive them. I really damn, the sort of concepts and stuff, but I could forgive the person very easily. And it very much easily.